Hi, welcome back to my channel, Mixed Media Creations, with me, Creative Katie, Karen Burchell. Today we are working on a canvas and we are doing a autumn-inspired mixed media canvas, Grateful and Blessed. Links to supplies can be found in the description box below. Thank you so much for shopping through my links. Thank you for subscribing, and if you haven't, hit the description box in the lower right-hand corner. Don't forget to check the option to be notified as soon as a new video arrives. So here is the inspiration for this canvas. This is an index card that I did just recently during the Index Card a Day challenge, and I absolutely loved it. And that's one of the reasons I love doing the ICAD challenge, because at the end of it I have 61 little miniature pieces of art where I've tried out different techniques and colors and ideas that I can often use as a springboard into a larger piece. Now on here I use my Inktense blocks, but today I'm going to use my acrylic paints. I'm going to attempt to get the same effect with a different medium. Now I'm starting with an 8x10 gessoed canvas, and it's really important to gesso this canvas because we are going to be using a technique that is going to make it necessary to have that undercoating. And I'm spraying with water before I put on the acrylic paints, just to keep the paints flowing and wet, because I need them wet for a bit of a time, the time it takes me to get the entire canvas painted. And I'm going over the edges because I want the color to go everywhere around and kind of surround the picture. And you may have noticed earlier I grabbed gray. I did not end up using gray, but my thought process with that was that I might want to dull down some of the colors to get a more muted shade. And you see me adding more water there, and that's something that I would be a little bit more hesitant and use a little less water, because it did, well, you'll see what happens. I don't want any color to overtake the others. I want all the splendor of the autumn colors. And I'm using orange, I'm using cadmium red, cadmium orange. I believe that was, can't think what green it was. It was a bright yellow. It wasn't my duller yellow. But I'm just mixing them. And I'm avoiding trying to mix the orange with the green or the red with the green, because I know that that's going to end up giving me a brownish color. Now some of that I'm okay with and I'm working in that, but some of it I don't want too much of it. Then I'm adding a little bit of the dioxazine purple, especially where that red is, because I know it's going to make kind of a purpley burgundy-ish color that I absolutely love. Now it kind of got too muddy there, so I just lifted it up. And because it's gessoed underneath, that made that so much easier to do. And basically, I am just applying paint as I see fit. Now I've got the plastic wrap already pulled out, and the reason for that is with my fingers all messy. Now you want all those crinkles, so I'm trying to build those crinkles into as much as I can, because that's what's going to add the texture to the canvas. And so once that's done, I'm just going to let it sit for a while. Now I did not let this completely dry. If you do that, it will kind of make a shiny plasticky coat, and I really don't like that effect. I love where you can see the white through it, and because this was gessoed underneath, that's what allows for that to happen. Now here comes a part where I'm thinking I may have used a little too much water. Oh, but first let's clean off this lovely color onto some paper towel. You know I'm going to be using this for collaging. Look at all that loveliness. So I'm now finished drying this. And I've noticed that in some places where there was too much water, it kind of got overly muted and you kind of lost some of that effect. And I'm not exactly thrilled with that. So I'm thinking if I had used less water or really monitored that when I put the paints on, I would have avoided having to do what you're going to see me doing now. Do you see the white through there? That is what I love to keep. And because I guess I made a mistake, I lose some of that because I'm going to kind of reapply the plastic wrap and do another layer, but you lose that white. You still get the texture, but you're losing the white because you're putting color on top of color. Does that make sense? Loving all the purples and the blends of the colors. You got that burgundy. So I just decide, okay, I'm going to put some paint in here, and I'm just blotching the paint in those places where I really didn't like what I saw. In retrospect, if I had continued on and with the stenciling and everything that comes later, I don't know that I would have noticed that so much. But if you're doing this, less water. It shouldn't be pulling there. It should be, keep the paint wet but not runny. I'm just applying it and squishing it up, letting it sit for a bit, and then pulling it off. And I'm still getting the texture. One of the things that I do notice when I pull this off, you kind of have a harsh edge, so you need to be a little careful about that. See, I'm kind of smudging out that harsh edge. I don't want that, right? And that's part of what you get when you go back in. And here I'm just using the plastic wrap and basically stamping with it, which gives me the idea for this next part. And I continue stamping with it because I kind of like that effect. So I ended up doing it because I kind of made a mistake, but I liked it, so I was able to use it in other ways. And acrylic paint, if you put it on anywhere and you don't like it, because it's dry underneath and it's acrylic, you have a bit of time to take a baby wipe and get it off. So when this was all completely dry and I was satisfied with it, and I had to force myself to walk away, I put some bronze and some gold paint. And I'm just piggybacking off the idea of using the plastic wrap as a stamping tool. I'm just thinning out the paint on the craft mat. And I'm just going to stamp this on. This is going to give a lovely gold effect throughout the whole background. Now, what I could have done here, and which probably some of you, if you've watched a lot of my videos, would have expected me to do, you could also have done this with a script stamp and just put that in and stamp that across the whole thing before we do the next step. And I'm concerned about doing the edges and making sure that there's some gold wrapping all the way around. The camera doesn't really pick up the gold and the bronze here, but that really made a beautiful effect on the canvas. Yeah, you really can't see too much of the gold here, but you're going to have to take my word for it. Now this leaf stencil, I'm not sure if I purchased it from Silhouette and then cut it onto the scrapbook paper, or if it was a free upload that somebody offered. But I'll put a link to another leaf stencil that I have if you're looking for a leaf stencil. And that can be found in the description box. So I put a bulldog clip on a makeup sponge to hold it. And I've seen that other people do that in videos, and I'm sorry I don't remember where. It's been a long time, and I found a bulldog clip and my makeup sponge happened to be in the same place at the same time. So I gave this a try. I really liked how that worked. It did make it really easy to hold and to apply. So I am just applying different leaves different ways, and I'm trying to remember to turn the stencil, alter the size of the leaves, the shapes of the leaves. I want some leaves to go over the edge, and right there I just realized I put two leaves, pretty much the same orientation, right next to each other. So I just want to mix this up. Now at this time, other than creating this background that I came up with on that iCAD, I really didn't have an idea about a focal point or what I was going to put or where this was going to go. Had I had that thought, it may have saved me some time because I may have left a space for it. So if you know in the bottom right hand corner you're going to want to put a quote or a focal point or something, or you want to put it in the middle, you can avoid doing some of the stenciling there. So if I was doing this again, even just trying to duplicate this, I may have let that alter where I'm putting the leaves. But I was just having fun creating a beautiful autumn background. And the high contrast of black against those autumn colors just looks amazing. I'm being careful not to use too much acrylic paint on the makeup sponge, and I'm dabbing off. Less is more. Do 2 thin layers as opposed to 1 thick gloopy one. And I'm looking over my canvas and deciding, are there any holes, are there any spaces? And then off camera, I think I show you some of it here, but I do the rest off camera. I do turn it on the edge and stencil in some of the effects of the black and the leaves. And I go all the way around it. Next up, I grab my jelly roll pen, my Secura jelly roll pen, which I absolutely love. I have the metallic set. It's just, I love using them. And even on the canvas, it worked rather well. I'm going pretty quickly. I'm not being careful at all. Just kind of outlining kind of in the middle. I'm not even trying to hit the edge. Now the thing about the Secura jelly roll pens, I find them to be mostly, they are permanent if they really dry. So I wouldn't you know, if I took a baby wipe now, I would be able to wash them off, which is nice. But if I let it dry or cure for a couple days, then it's less likely to rub off. It still would if you put a lot of pressure in it. So then I ran into trouble because, as I said, I did not decide what kind of focal point I wanted. I wanted to put some kind of word on there. So I cut a whole bunch of things with my silhouette. And one was too big and one was too small, and my silhouette wasn't working. And in the end, I went and I painted them with black paint. And I have many that are off to the side that maybe you can use for a different one. And I've rearranged these this way and that way. And then as I'm doing this, I suddenly decide, hey, what happens if I put them kind of on a curve? And that's what I went with. But you're going to see right away pictures of some of the samples, and because I spent hours trying to put these words on in different places and different orientations and different combinations, and I'm only showing you probably half of the options that I cut. But when you get inside your head and you're not sure, sometimes the best thing to do is what I did. Just walk away, let it sit, come back to it when you're fresh. And this is what I went with. Now I know the and is going to go in the middle, so I kind of center it to eyeball it to center it to the middle of the canvas. Now you also note that I edged the entire canvas in black, and I even did the edges of it, although you do see some of the colors show through. Now here I'm using a circle and making a curve so I can get the curve top and bottom to match. I could have just eyeballed it, but I thought, okay, how can we make this easy? How can we make this, you know, more foolproof? And I'm just applying gel medium to the canvas and pressing the letters into it and then putting gel medium on top. Now, you saw me trace a line there. I used my Stabilo All Pencil in white, and that's water soluble, so I'll be able to totally erase it with a baby wipe, which I think I do right away as soon as I dry that. There I go. And just be mindful of the fact that the Secura Jelly Roll pens, while it dried overnight, may come up if you rub too much. The acrylic paint, however, is permanent, which is why I chose to go with the acrylic paint and not the Inktense blocks or a water-soluble medium. You can do this with a water-soluble medium, you just are going to have to take care when it comes to those things. Some more fidgeting. Now this I cut out, the letters I cut out with my Silhouette. This is a font that I purchased on Silhouette, and it's LW Simple. I love using it to print off words on my computer, and I loved it here because it's a mixture of capitals and small letters, but they're all the same height. And I find I really like that when it comes to my canvases and art journal pages. And there we have the finished canvas, and you can see how the edges are black, but you can see some of the gold peeking through. You can see the shapes of the leaves, so it's a really quite nice effect, but it's darkened with the black, and that black was really key to being able to put some letters on there. So there's my canvas, grateful and blessed. And, you know, that is kind of how I'm feeling today. I'm feeling very grateful to have you as my subscribers and blessed to be able to make these videos for you. Enjoy the close-ups of some of the pictures both before and after I put the words on. Here you can see some of the lovely texture that you get with the saran wrap or plastic wrap technique. And I'll put a link to my technique tag videos that talk about that technique using different mediums should you want to attempt doing this with a different color medium. Maybe you'll get some pointers in that video. I giggle because all the time I spent trying to figure out how to put the words on, and I absolutely love what it ended up with. So it was worth all the mental anguish over it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.